What if someone knocked on your door and told you they were from the year 2347? What if they could prove it? Would you believe them? Would anyone? And what would happen to our understanding of reality, history, and the future if time travel turned out to be real? This is What If. And here's what would happen if you met a time traveler. Time travel has lived in the human imagination for centuries. From H.G. Wells to Hollywood blockbusters, we've always been obsessed with the idea of moving through time the way we move through space. But here's what most people don't realize. Time travel isn't just science fiction. It's science. And some of it is already happening. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that time is not a constant. It bends, it stretches. It moves at different speeds depending on two things: velocity and gravity. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. The stronger the gravitational field around you, the slower your clock ticks compared to someone far away from it. This isn't theory anymore. It's been measured. GPS satellites orbiting Earth experience time slightly faster than we do on the surface because they're further from Earth's gravitational pull. Without corrections for this effect, your GPS would drift by about 11 kilometers every single day. Einstein was right. Time is flexible. And that flexibility is the crack in the universe that a time traveler would slip through. So what would it actually look like if you met one? Let's say you're sitting in a coffee shop and someone sits across from you. They look ordinary enough, but then they start talking. They know things they shouldn't. They describe historical events with the casual familiarity of someone recounting their own memories. They pull out a device you've never seen before, something that makes your smartphone look like a sundial. How would you know if they were real? Proving time travel is almost harder than time travel itself. A genuine time traveler could make predictions about the future. Specific ones. Not vague horoscope-style guesses, but precise, verifiable facts. They could show technology that simply shouldn't exist yet. Materials, computing power, medical knowledge centuries ahead of our own. They could even undergo genetic testing, since humans of the far future might have measurably different DNA after thousands of years of evolution and genetic engineering. But here's the problem. A clever fraud could fake all of that. And a real time traveler might be very, very careful not to reveal too much. In 2009, the legendary physicist Stephen Hawking decided to test this very question. He threw a party, complete with champagne, balloons, and hors d'oeuvres. But he sent out the invitations only after the party was over. His reasoning was elegant. If time travelers from the future existed and received the invitation, they could travel back and attend. He sat there waiting. Nobody came. Does that prove time travel is impossible? Not quite. Maybe the information was classified. Maybe arriving at the wrong coordinates in time is harder than it sounds. Or maybe, and this is the thought that should keep you up at night, maybe they were there, and you just couldn't tell. Now here's where the real trouble begins. If you met a time traveler and believed them, what would you ask? Most people would go straight to the future. What happens next? Who wins? Does humanity survive? But a responsible time traveler would almost certainly refuse to answer. Because changing the past, even slightly, could unravel the future in ways too catastrophic to risk. This is what physicists call the butterfly effect taken to its logical extreme. A single conversation in a coffee shop in 2024 could erase entire timelines. The time traveler sitting across from you might be sweating through every word, terrified of saying one thing too many. Some physicists propose that this paradox solves itself. In one theory, every decision creates a branching parallel universe. If a time traveler goes back and changes something, they don't erase their own timeline. They simply create a new one and step into it. Their original future still exists somewhere in the multiverse, humming along without them. In this model, time travel to the past is possible, but you can never return to exactly where you came from. You'd be stranded in a parallel world that's almost, but not quite, your own. And there's the grandfather paradox. If you traveled back in time and accidentally prevented your own grandparents from meeting, you would never be born. But if you were never born, you couldn't travel back in time to prevent them from meeting. The timeline collapses into a logical impossibility. Unless, of course, the universe has a way of protecting itself from such contradictions. Some theorists believe it does, that reality has a kind of self-correcting immune system that closes off paradoxes before they can unravel causality. And what about traveling to the future? That one is surprisingly straightforward, at least in theory. Move fast enough or get close enough to a massive gravitational source, and time slows down for you while the rest of the universe races ahead. Astronauts on the International Space Station are already doing this. Moving at 8 kilometers per second, they age slightly slower than people on Earth. The difference is tiny, fractions of a second over a 6-month mission. But the principle scales up. An astronaut traveling at 99% of the speed of light for what feels like 1 year would return to Earth to find that 223 years had passed. They would be a time traveler into the future with no way back. That's the cruel twist at the heart of time travel. Going forward might be achievable. Going back might be forever out of reach. The time traveler in that coffee shop, if they're real, might be someone who leapt centuries into the future and found themselves permanently stranded in your present. Not a visitor. A refugee from a time that no longer exists for them. Maybe that's why they sat down across from you. Not to deliver a message. Not to change history. Just to talk to someone. To feel for a moment like they belong somewhere in time. We may be decades away from understanding whether true time travel is possible. But in a way, we're all time travelers. Moving forward. 1 second at a time. Never able to go back. Never quite sure what's waiting ahead. The clock is always ticking. For now, the best thing to do is to subscribe to the next What If?